My draw is busted. Day 2 at the 2025 Wimbledon Championships featured so many upsets. It's astonishing. And I do have a theory on why we're seeing so many upsets. I'm going to touch upon that later. But does this top Black Wednesday that happened in 2013, where 8 former number ones lost? I don't think it compares because on Black Wednesday, Roger Federer lost to Sergei Stakhovsky, maybe the biggest upset in Wimbledon history. But nevertheless, today featured so many surprising results, and I want you to take a look at the seeds that lost today, both on the men's and the women's side. This is for sure the worst draw prediction ever. Let me take a look here. I got 35 correct on the women's side, and I got 38 correct on the men's side. So by far the worst predictions ever. Close to half of my predictions were wrong. Now let me tell you why I think this is happening. I think what we're seeing now on both the ATP and the WTA Tour is a level of play that we've never seen in the history of tennis. And I'm not necessarily talking about the very top of the game. You can make arguments for both the ATP and the WTA that possibly in the past the level was the same or maybe even higher. But I'm not talking about the top of the game. I'm talking about the rankings, let's say, outside the seeded players at a Grand Slam tournament. So let's say the players ranked between 32 up to 100 are better than they've ever been in the history of tennis. And this is both the ATP and the WTA. Now, I listened to the Taylor Fritz interview after his win against Pericard, and Taylor said that he finds the courts to play a lot faster in the very beginning compared to later in the tournament when the courts get used up. So I do think that's a big factor, and generally Wimbledon features more upsets than other Grand Slam tournaments because the surface used to be lightning fast, but I think still today, despite it being slowed down, it's still fast, especially in the first week and especially in the first few days. So upsets are going to happen at Wimbledon, but not this many. I think what we're seeing now is that these players that are unseeded at a Grand Slam tournament have the capability and the level to pretty much take out anyone. Now, there's a caveat. I do think that the very top of the ATP is not necessarily affected by it because there's a discrepancy in level. These guys are above the rest, and I'm talking about Sinner and Alcaraz, of course, and maybe you can include Djokovic, the way he's playing at the Grand Slam level. Maybe not during the regular season, but when it comes to Grand Slams, Djokovic is not going to go out early. He's going to figure out a way to win. So apart from those three guys, these players that are unseeded at a Grand Slam play phenomenal tennis, and they can take out anyone. And let me tell you the results that surprised me the most. So first of all, I was very surprised that Shapovalov lost to Navone. Shapovalov played really well early this year. He won the tournament in Dallas, and on grass with his game style, he was, in my opinion, the huge favorite against the clay court specialist Navone. But Dennis lost this match. And again, Navone, despite preferring clay, this guy is so good. He's proven now that he can also play on grass. Another result that made no sense to me was Bublik losing to Munar. Now, Munar did play really well against Alcaraz in Queens. So he is obviously comfortable on grass, or you're not going to be able to have a result like that. However, I've talked about Bublik a lot in the last 2-3 weeks, and the way he played in Halle, I put him in the quarterfinals of Wimbledon, but they lost in the first round. And what's so funny to me is that when Bublik beat Draper at Roland Garros, and if you remember, he was up 2-1. He was serving for the match 5-4 in the fourth, and this was a really long game, and Bublik had a hard time closing out this match. And after the match, Bublik said that if he would have lost that game where he was serving for the match, he would have lost the fifth set 6-2. He was sure that this was going to happen. And the funny thing is, Bublik today was up 2-1 against Munar, serving for the match in the fourth, and he couldn't close it out, and he ends up losing the fifth set 6-2. So Bublik knows himself really well, and I think it's such a shame because this guy is so entertaining on the court and off the court. And I really wanted to see him go very far, but now this opens up the path to a Draper-Djokovic quarterfinal. Draper's section is tricky, though. He possibly is going to play Menchik in the fourth round. And if Menchik gets more comfortable on the grass, he's unbelievably dangerous. So in a way, I think the fact that Bublik lost is actually worse for Djokovic. In my opinion, if Djokovic could choose a quarterfinal opponent between Bublik, Menchik, and Draper, he would probably choose Bublik, because I think Djokovic has the type of game that can dismantle Bublik. And we all saw what Menchik did to Djokovic in the Miami final. That quarterfinal is going to be a challenging one for Novak. And let me quickly touch upon his first round match. And again, Muller played incredible in that second set. He saved so many break points. Novak should have won this match in 3 sets, but he didn't. Muller was on absolute fire, winning that second set 7-6. And then very early in that third set, I thought that this could be very tricky for Novak because he wasn't feeling well. He had a stomach problem and he left the court for a medical timeout. And that break completely destroyed Muller, and he wasn't the same player anymore. And Novak came out on fire after that medical break. He recovered really fast. And I know there are so many doubters regarding Novak's injuries or illnesses, so to speak. And I'm choosing to believe Novak, what he says, that he wasn't feeling well. But I will say that a break like this can throw off an opponent, no doubt about it, especially if the opponent has the momentum on his side. All of a sudden, there's a long break. The player that's down gets more time to think about what's happening and has more time to regroup. And the player that's up in the match can lose his momentum. So for sure, that long break in the third set affected Muller in a very negative way. And after that, like I said, there was absolutely no chance, and Novak played really well. In yesterday's video, I covered the Fritz-Perricard match that didn't finish yesterday. And today, I released an analysis of the Fritz serve. It's on my second channel. I'm going to link that video in the end screen. I recommend that you check it out. And prior to this match, on the ATP Tour leaderboard, Taylor Fritz was ranked number 1 in serve stats on the ATP Tour, and number 2 was Perricard. Now, after the insane serving performance from Perricard in that first round match, Taylor Fritz is not number 1 anymore. Perricard is back on top. And if Perricard can serve like this and also play from the baseline like this, he can be such a dangerous player. He had this match in his hands. He was up 5-1 in the fourth set tiebreak, up 2-1, and Taylor Fritz played phenomenal defense. His defensive skills are absolute elite. His reflexes are insane. He returned 153 mile an hour serve and won the point, the fastest serve in the history of Wimbledon. And in the fifth set today, Taylor Fritz was rock solid on his serve. And Perricard, down 4-5 in the fifth, had to hold serve to stay in the match. And he started that game off with a double fault. And then Fritz won a long rally on the next point. And then at love 30, again, Fritz showed his tremendous reflexes and return abilities. He returned an unbelievably hard serve from Perricard, hit it right on the baseline. Perricard shanked the forehand wide. It was love 40. And Taylor won a super important match for him, 6-4 in the third. He's having a great grass court season. He won 2 tournaments. I do still believe that Taylor Fritz is going to make it into the semifinals.